Hello and welcome to the Sands of Time Review channel. It's your host, Sammy Thunder. Today I'd like to go through a watch which has been in my collection for a very long time, approximately 1 year. And it is a Laco Augsburg Blue Stunde 39mm. Now, this watch here is a very special watch, just by the looks of it, but it's also very elegant and simple in design. It is a Type A Flieger watch from the German manufacturer Laco, also known as Laco & Co. To go through a bit of history, Laco was actually founded in 1925 in the German city of Pforzheim by Frieda Laco and Ludwig Hummel. The brand is also known as Laco & Co, as mentioned. Initially speaking, in 1925, most watches produced in this region were equipped with Swiss movements. And the brand split up in ownership, where Frieda Laco decided to work in the field of precision parts manufacturing for wristwatches. So she was kind of manufacturing, small watch components. Later, her son took over this precision parts manufacturing hub, whereas Ludwig Hummel had founded his own company, Durowe, and I'm probably butchering the name, alongside the sister company Laco & Co. So Laco & Co had actually risen up due to this cooperation between these two companies. And they rose to the top in watchmaking in Pforzheim, with the Durowe factory at hand, manufacturing their movements and precision parts. So, this was a time of financial growth for both of the companies, and they supplied movements not only for Laco & Co but for the other watch manufacturers out there in Germany or in Pforzheim. So it was later in World War II, after the creation of their in-house pocket watch movement in Pforzheim, that Laco would be one of the main manufacturers of pilots' watches to the German Luftwaffe. Now, these watches had to follow or conform to the specifications from the German Luftwaffe, and essentially they needed to be 55 mils in diameter. They had to have a special engraving on the side of the case, namely stating FL 23883. Now, to go in more specifics relating to that, that is FL for flight, 23 for navigation, and 883 referred to the specifications by the German Research Institute for Aviation. They needed large crowns, a hacking movement, and they had to have a Breguet balance wheel. It also needed to be chronometer certified, have large leather straps to be worn over a pilot's jacket, and eventually 5 manufacturers were chosen. First one being A. Lange & Son, Wempe, Laco, Stover, and International Watch Company. Now, following World War II though, 80% of Pforzheim was destroyed. Obviously the Axis had lost the war and Pforzheim was in ruins. But under the new Marshall Plan, which was, reconstruction which had taken place, the brand was actually back in business as the Laco Durowe Group. However, the company, they peaked in sales, they did well, but eventually they went through different ownership, and they were eventually owned by the US Time Corporation. And no one would have known this. The US Time Corporation is known as Timex in our modern day. And they had a much different interest, in the sense that they were intending to produce electronic watches, much like Bulova and LIP were. Now, following this period of time, Laco went through some struggles in different ownership, but they had their golden era where, pre-World War II, they were flourishing. They were a very, very high quality brand known to the people. And what happened today is, we've gone back to, good hands, good ownership, and this is what I present to you today, the Laco Augsburg Blue Stunde 39mm. I know it's a mouthful for a name, but this is the watch I have here. It's a 39mm diameter watch. So it is a pilot's watch that is very easy to wear. In the back, we have a Miyota movement, the Laco A21A, and this is a non-hacking movement. So this watch here is a modern recreation that doesn't follow or conform to the specifications of the German Luftwaffe. You also have that nice sunray blue dial, not your typical sterile black dials that you would get in typical pilot's watches back in the day. Now, to go through some specifications of this watch, I would like to state the basic specs here, which is the diameter of 39mm, a lug width of 18mm, a lug to lug of 46.5mm, and a height of 11.5 or 11.55 mils. This is also waterproof to 5 atmospheres. So the watch originally comes on the choice of choosing a leather strap with rivet holes, or you have the choice of getting a NATO strap. So I had actually opted for the NATO strap, as I didn't purchase this watch new, so I didn't have the luxury of choosing what I wanted. So I got the watch on the NATO strap, but I also purchased this nice leather strap from Hirsch. So this is their more premium offerings, the Artisan's leather, and I quite like it. It's a very supple outside, just right outside of equipping the strap onto the watch. Very supple strap, very soft, very flexible, out straight out of the box. So I'd like to go through what this type of watch is. This is a type A Flieger, there's type B Fliegers, and there's type C Fliegers. So this here is a type A Flieger where you have your Arabic numerals till 11, and you got your very special triangle with the 2 dots to indicate the 12 o'clock in any orientation. You will always know that's 12. The watch itself presents very beautifully with the brand name and then made in Germany. And then you have all these indices and these minute markers, which are in fact fully loomed. That is very insane at this price point. And when we're dealing with Flieger watches in the current market, it's honestly Laco and Stover which do this excellently. There's IWC where they only loom up just these 4 quadrant portions. For Flieger watches, when you're paying a premium from IWC, you want to have that quality loom. That's what makes a Flieger special. So I'm very happy with what Stover have done here. As we look at the dial, we have a very beautiful sunray blue finish on that dial, and honestly, in the macro, on the dial itself, I actually can't spot surface flaws. And I'll repeat, the retail price of this watch is 550 Australian dollars, and I had paid 100 Australian dollars. 300 Australian dollars, not 100. So this very, very good value for money already. So it is a watch that has received quite a lot of compliments compared to watches which are 10 to 20 times this price point, which is very, very insane. And I'm very happy that I actually purchased this watch. It was on a whim, and I'm very happy that I did. This is sometimes the joy of watch collecting. Even though you do make some impulse buys, you never know. It may be one of your most favorite watches, out there. So we have our typical Flieger handset, all loomed, seconds hand loomed, indices all loomed. Amazing. The indices are so brightly loomed with C3 Luminova that I actually thought this Laco logo was loomed, but the loom itself was so bright. It was shining that light, on the entire dial. I could actually see portions of the dial and the logo, especially. I like how elegant this watch is. at the size, the made in Germany and that tiny text. It's almost like a perfect watch. The no date, the nice crown, the bead blasted finish. And the cool thing about bead blasted finishing is that you don't have to worry about like scratching your watches so much. Especially this type of bead blasted finish has kind of a light kind of sheen to it, compared to, you know, some brands like the Zin, where you don't have that. So this here is just how the watch kind of looks in 360. Very simple finishing, you know, there's nothing extraordinary, no beveled edges. It's just simple finishing like a Flieger should be, a utilitarian pilot's watch. And the thing I love about Fliegers is the crown as well. The crown here is very beautiful. So we have our onion style crown, and winding of this movement is actually it is pleasing. Where have Laco cut costs to produce this watch at $300? Firstly, the movement, we're using 821A, a non-hacking Miyota movement. Not that there's anything wrong with Miyota produced movements. This is one thing I want to stress out to a lot of people out there. Yes, it has that rotor wobbling. Yes, it's a fidget spinner, but it's a reliable workhorse movement, and I'll tell you why I think that. So Hajime Asaoka, a very famous independent watchmaker from Japan, had started his sub-brand Kuruno Tokyo, and essentially he created this brand because he wanted people to experience his designs at a much affordable price point, and he wanted to give the people that missed out on, you know, getting his original watches a shot at his design elements, his design cues, the style. He decided to use the workhorse Miyota 9 series movement, which does hack, is reliable, is of the higher beat. There's nothing wrong with it, honestly. Watches that are retailing at $3,000 to $4,000 from, you know, his brand Kuruno Tokyo. So it's hard. It's hard to say what it is, but I own the Miyota. I've had it for a year now, and this watch has been running consistently at plus 8 seconds a day. That I can tell you. And there is kind of, you know, some very basic finishing, nothing special, but you do have that kind of Coach de Genève on that main plate. You do have a skeletonized rotor, and I like to play around with it, you know, a bit. So, all stainless steel construction, sapphire crystal on the front and the back, which is very nice to have. Now, they have cut costs in the sense that there is no anti-reflective coating. So in certain lights, you can kind of see legibility may be effective, but I've never been affected by the lack of anti-reflective coating on the day-to-day basis. I can always read the time. That's why I love this watch. So even though it lacks certain elements of a pilot's watch, especially a non-hacking movement, I've tried to hack the movement, it's non-hacking. So honestly, it's not a deal breaker. The SKX is a non-hacking movement with the 7S26. And I don't really care much about the accuracy, especially at this price point. Another place where they have cut costs is we have Phantom Date Wheel. I would have hoped they would kind of fix that. I kind of like to play with it because I can feel those clicks. But yes, there is the Phantom Date Wheel. They have not removed it. We have 5 atmospheres of water resistance, perfectly fine for a pilot's watch. This is in the air, not the sea. But it still works as an everyday piece with the 5 atmospheres. You can technically go swimming with another strap. So yeah, it is a very, very nice watch indeed. And honestly, for what you're getting, this is probably the best bang for buck for a Flieger watch. Now, the brand don't just produce typical Fliegers with Miyota stuffed in them. They produce true to the heritage, true to the size Flieger watches as well. They produce navy watches as well that are amazing, that have higher end movements from ETA in them. So that's something I would like to stress out, that this brand does a lot of stuff. They go to the truth end of the spectrum all the way to a recreation or reinterpretation of the Flieger. And this is what I love about this brand and what it offers. I've owned this watch for a year now, and I will try and zoom in and try to show you that this is a year's worth of scratches. You can see that 1, 2, you can see tiny hairlines, and I've zoomed in quite a bit. So this is your bead blasted finish, and it has kind of a lighter sheen to it, unlike, you know, something from Zinn or maybe Damasco. So I just wanted to show you even the lugs. I've changed the straps on this quite a bit, and you can kind of see here that there's not much scratches, and this side there's not one scratch. This portion of the watch is facing, you know, towards the end of my wrist, towards my hand. Not one scratch, and it's been 1 year. So it's an almost flawless watch, and this is why I like this kind of finishing on a watch. I initially thought, you know, it's, you know, you see the press images, it's not really appealing, but honestly speaking, it's I like it now that I've owned it. You can see some tiny marks, scratches there, but very minimal scratches over a 1 year period. Winding the watch is kind of smooth. I don't think, I'll be honest, it's not the most pleasuring experience, but guess what, I do wind it. It's nothing like winding, you know, a Nomos, for example, or a Grand Seiko manual wind caliber. It's an automatic movement. I'm going to be honest, but it does the work. It's amazing. It's a Flieger with a lot of brand heritage, so I honestly think you guys should consider this watch at this price point, or even something more expensive offerings with arguably better movements, with the hacking, true to a pilot's watch. So thank you for watching my video. This is the Sands of Time, and I hope you keep supporting me. Please like, subscribe, or dislike. It means a lot. Thank you very much. See you.